Most people don't realize how much of their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making millions pulling details about you from public records and the internet, then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might just sell credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/hidden. Protect yourself now at aura.com/hidden.
Tecovas is the go-to for premium, handcrafted Western boots. Stop by any store location for a warm welcome, a cold drink in hand, and a truly one-of-a-kind shopping experience. Let our friendly staff help you find your new go-to boots, whether your first pair or your 50th. Finish things off with a complimentary boot brand to make them extra special. Come for the boots, stay for the good times. Tecovas, forever West.
Welcome to Con Carne. I'm James Van Osdol, and it is a car-based podcast, but every now and then it leaves the car and finds its way to a virtual recording, which is the case with this episode. Con Carne, sponsored by Alex Ross Art, alexrossart.com. Alex Ross, one of the true greats. You know, the word legend is so overused. It fits for Alex Ross. The work he does in comics and graphic novels, his photorealistic painting style on all those great DC and Marvel superheroes. It's iconic work, and you can check it out for yourself at alexrossart.com. And in fact, you can buy originals through the site, which I'll tell you, I have an Alex Ross original. It's a showstopper on my wall. It's one of the first things people talk about when I invite them over. alexrossart.com.
It's Con Carne. Let's eat in the car. It's Con Carne. And now here's the star of our show, James Van Osdol.
Achings is an East Coast-based indie band who just put out their first full-length album, All These Shapes, All These Days. And it sounds awesome. The songs are meant to capture the various types and tones of connections past and present and their indelible impact on our sense of self and place in the world. Joining me from Achings, it is Rebecca Joy, singer, keyboards, also Justin Myer, guitarist and drums. Achings, great to meet you both. I mean, I'm in Chicago, you're not. Thank you for jumping on this podcast.
Yeah, it's great to meet you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Let's just, all good stories begin with the origin. So I guess tell me about how Achings came to be.
Yeah. It's a weird one.
Yeah, I think we probably have like pretty unique sides of the story, but I guess probably a good origin place is like, Becky and I kind of met and overlapped in Rochester, New York, maybe like 2002, 3, 4, 5, and around that time. And I think, that way that someone in the scene, but you don't really know them, but like they were like, oh, that's Becky. Like, oh, I totally know who that is, right? And then I think fast forward probably 2018, 2017, I was just writing demos and playing guitar in my room and not really doing anything musically. And there was a guy who was a friend of mine who was a bartender at this bar, Memphis Tap Room, which is across the street from me in Philadelphia. And his name was Josh Meekum, mostly known probably for being part of Sunny Day in Glasgow. But, a guy I grew up with playing music. And he was always like, well, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? And I was like, oh, no, I'm just making stuff. And he was like, well, come to my studio and like, let's flush things out. I'm really good at that. And so I did. And I took about 7 songs, right? And I got guitar, bass, drums down, and I had no idea what to do with them. And I sent them around to a couple people, and one of those is my old bandmate Daniel, who's obviously Becky's husband. And I think he passed them on to you, right? I don't remember. I don't know what that side of the story was, but
he was just like playing. He was playing one of the demos, kind of in the background, and my ears just kind of like pricked up, and I was just kind of like, I feel like I know how this song goes. I feel like I know how the song is supposed to go. And he was like, "Oh, I don't have any ideas. Like, why don't you take a stab at it?" And yeah, and so I did, and that song was Abdication. So
yeah, Becky always remembers that being the first song, and I always remember the first song being Age of Anxiety. But I think actually I went back in emails. I think she's 100% correct. I stand corrected, but
and that was a few days before I had my daughter. I had just gone on maternity leave, and then I had my daughter about a week later. So it was a very interesting time.
Which was also the week I got married, right?
Oh
right?
my gosh, right, because I couldn't go to your wedding. I couldn't go to the wedding.
You were too pregnant for the wedding.
Yeah.
So the thought process is we don't have enough going on in our personal lives. Let's rev up a music project.
Yeah, I think the opposite. I think because we had so much going on, it was like a necessary place for
escape,
all that stuff to go.
Release. Yeah. Well, let's talk about Abdication, Planet Earth, since it was mentioned. I love the video for this because I swear I don't feel like I've seen this sort of thing all too often in videos. And I love the fact that you throw yourself into music video making. I feel like we are long overdue for a music video renaissance. We all have computers in our pockets, and it's so easy to consume video content and create video content. This video is made, it's done in black and white with 2037, but who's counting, still photos.
Daniel was counting. That's who was counting.
It was 2027.
27. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So what could have been a straightforward music performance video turned into something that is altogether different. It's dreamy. It's cool. Tell me a little bit about the approach.
Yeah. So Daniel had this idea for doing this kind of Charles Peterson vibe stop motion music video, and I don't think he ever knew what he was going to do with this idea, but he'd had it in him for a while. And I said, I want to do a video for Abdication, and he's like, okay, I think we can use this idea. And yeah, like I wanted something that was kind of creepy and that felt really kind of off-putting and played to the sort of fun alien invasion motif that's in that song, and he just like nailed it.
Yeah, I think this is Daniel and I have this like Marco Polo channel where I swear to God, every little dumb idea we've ever had sneaks into there as like a thought wave or whatever, and I think the song really worked for that style just because of the staccato kind of like beat. So it really gives off that thing. And I would say, I will never look at another stop motion video again without realizing like it's just arduous. I mean, hours and hours and hours. And I think my favorite thing about the video as I watch it now is that like we literally had no idea what it was looking like until maybe we got, 3 or 4 hours in, and we can actually kind of start to see it. And you'll also notice us completely start to break down emotionally towards the end of the video, where we just start like, the beginning is very structured and like, we have this bland thing, and then we just kind of lose it. And that whole ending is really something we just improvised in the moment. Like, what else can we do? And we started making
all the amps on top
let's make Becky
precariously and make Becky climb them.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, staying on the video tip, I also love the video you did for Need for Love. It's filmed in what like the super cool swinging 70s home.
Wow.
Awesome windows. It's very noir in its own way. This is a relationship song, or perhaps more specifically a bad relationship song. Tell me how the lyrics or the vibe of the song informed the video.
Well, I could maybe take that one. That one was directed by an old friend of mine, this guy, Eric Votel Bernard, who's incredible. And actually, I think the really unique thing about both of these songs, I don't really know if Becky and I would have sat down and we said, like, this is the single we want to have a video for. I think the directors really heard the record and were like, that's the one I want to work on. And Eric, like, came in with this, like, I mean, I don't know, like a vision. He had like a vision board. He's like, I want to use these paintings as inspiration. Like he just had the whole thing laid out. And I think when he found that space and kind of met that kind of fantastical thing we had like really perfectly. And it's beautiful. And it's a house in Elkins Park, Pennsylvania, in Cheltenham Township that I think almost is exclusively used for film shoots and videos. And you know, incredible hosts. I mean, they were just so kind, and it's just a perfect space. It just worked so perfectly in that song.
I want to live there.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
It's a perfectly preserved mid-century modern house. And we were struggling to figure out a location, and we came across this. And I saw it and I was like, that's it. That's the one. Like, we have to do it there. I don't care how much it costs. I'll take all the extra clients, like whatever. We need to film it here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really turned out really well. I feel like we could have used maybe like 3 more hours of daylight. I think we would have been a little bit more relaxed, but I mean, it was quick. I mean, you can see the beginning of the video, like Becky walking down the driveway. It's like, it's getting dark now. You know, that was maybe 7:00, but it still kind of has that kind of night vibe. And Eric did a really great job of expanding those scenes from the outside looking in at the end of the video. I think are some of our favorites. Just for the visuals, I think that we had so far in the project, which there are a lot of strong visuals. You know,
there are a lot of Easter eggs in that.
Yeah, that was a bit. That was really fun too. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Easter eggs,
yeah.
like watching a Marvel movie. Like, what are we talking about?
Like my bracelet. I'm wearing this like snake, like this 1920s kind of like snake bracelet, and there's a line in the song, "Your mind is a viper turned in on itself." So that was kind of a little like nod to that. And
I love that.
And we did a lot of set decorating too. So a lot of the objects you see in the video are things from our archives, I guess you could say. And you know, I think on Becky's end, it was much more sort of kind of like personal kind of things. I think for me, it was much more kind of homages, like a lot of, you know, weird old zines and like 7 inches from the bands I grew up with in high school, and like that scene, just kind of like trying to make sense of where all this kind of comes from through objects, I guess, which was kind of fun.
Well, I guess the question, Justin, is: do you still have all those 7 inches from growing up? Like you kept them?
Yeah, dude. There's a Noise Addict song where Ben Lee sings about his 7-inch collection, and it's like the biggest he's ever seen or whatever. And I think I've taken that to heart. I run, on top of all of our, Becky and I talk about all of our wonderful projects, all the things we have doing. You know, I run a zine called Hall with our buddy Andy that is just about being a record obsessed indie rock nerd in your 40s, just going to Princeton Record Exchange and getting down on the floor and just going through 7 inches trying to find, something on Simple Machines or something on Team Beat or whatever, So yeah, like I definitely, I don't throw away records. I don't even trade in records. I bought it. I still have it, from first 7-inch down to whatever I just bought.
I'm very fascinated to learn what it's like to be an aging record obsessed music nerd. It sounds like a fascinating lifestyle choice.
Being in your mid 30s and having your first band ever. I mean, this is my first band. This is like a very strange experience. And that video was the first performance I had ever done. We had never played live at that point. So it was a lot of firsts for me. And I guess I'm just a late bloomer. I just didn't.
Really?
I didn't know.
Well, I find that fascinating. I mean, had you always known you could sing?
No, I was a dancer. That was my art form. I was a ballerina my whole life. And I always loved music, but, my relationship to music was really like kinesthetic. It was really sort of through dance, which I think ended up being a really great foundation. But yeah, it was, I mean, I had started to do some solo stuff prior to Justin and I playing together, but
I love that EP. Becky made a great EP, and I think it's the first time I became aware of like her voice. But like Becky and I talked a lot about this. Like living in Rochester at the same time. I just was playing in bands. I didn't really think about anything, and a lot of what I kind of took from Becky about this project is really about like how hard it was to find anyone to want to take you seriously, to sort of want to play, which is totally something I related to, because it's hard to find people who are serious about music to want to play music. But like, her perspective is such a different thing, such a different journey,
Yeah, well, I mean, I can honestly say I was very supportive of my friends' bands in Rochester, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There was this kind of sense of longing, watching people play music. There was kind of this like pining, but I don't know. I guess I never thought, oh, that's something that I could do. And I think I maybe had some meek moment where I had told somebody, I'm in my early 20s, like I kind of want to do music, and it was kind of like poo-pooed. There weren't a lot of women in that scene. There was Holly, really. There was
Holly. That was,
there was
and,
one
and Christina, right? Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think that was even interesting too, especially kind of like Rochester. When we talk about Rochester, we're talking about like bands like Achilles and Tamaroff and
Great bands.
Awesome, like really great bands that we loved playing music with, but kind of overtly very masculine kind of guys. You know what I mean? Like I remember when I moved to Rochester from Philly, I was like, oh my god, it's like man courts, it's like big dudes in basketball jerseys, and I was like very used to a very different version of like skinny dude, frail straight edge kids in Philly. So so it, what I mean, it was. And Holly used to talk about this in the Hue all the time. Like we'd go play places and she'd be like, girls would come up to me after the show, and it's like, oh yeah, like literally she was the only female performer in an entire bill, which was crazy,
Yeah. You have to see yourself reflected in those spaces.
Absolutely. So again, the album, All These Shapes, All These Days, I was hoping we could dive a little bit further into it beyond the songs we already
Please
talked
go
about.
ahead.
Undoing Home, cut my throat. What is this about?
I know. I had a feeling that someday I would have to explain this line. And apparently the day has come. So I guess it's about having to exist in a home space that is essentially unsafe. And you're young, you don't know the world. But then having to eventually go look for safety outside of that space. But the world itself is also scary, right? So it's like kind of having to weigh these things against one another, and having to take that risk, right? To hope for something better, I guess. If that makes sense. If that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense. House on Fire. There's a very spare, haunting arrangement at the start of the song that kind of pulls you in, and then it builds. This is a really dramatic sounding song.
Yeah,
that took a lot of work. If you heard the original drum machine played in my room with a guitar demo compared to where it ended up, I mean, I will say this. I think the bridge on that song, especially the second, is probably one of my favorite parts on the record, because it kind of reaches this point where I don't think we've done, nothing else sounds like it up until that point. But really, I would say I'll give Becky a lot of credit. I mean, this is really her production, like bringing things in, pacing the drums, kind of like, I'm a guy who writes, 6 guitar parts for a verse, and then she cuts, don't want that one, have that one start 2 measures in, and really does build everything up to kind of work with what she's doing. And
I'm usually trying to make space for my harmonies.
Yeah. I'm a pretty cloudy performer in that way.
Well, it seems like you two are really lucky to have found each other.
Absolutely.
This isn't an accidental collaboration by any means, but it wasn't one either of you probably could have anticipated 5 years ago.
No, I often say that this project feels like kismet. It really does.
Yeah. We get pissed off at ourselves. We're like, why don't we do this in like 2010? We're so stupid. Like, would have been so much easier
time back then. We didn't have children.
I know, right? I think, I definitely think, like, I know a lot. Like, if you're a guy in your 40s, like, it is incredibly difficult to make and formulate friendships. It's like just impossible. Like, if you're a kid, you go to like dad group, you like don't like most of them anyway, and then like it's weird to like, how do you like? You want to go see a movie? Oh God, you like crap. You know what I mean? So I think for Becky and I, it's definitely been something that's like, I don't know. I mean, it's it is creative sort of partnership, which is kind of this really unique kind of thing. But it's also like friendship. We're just like hanging out, you know what I mean? And we're total, kids in high school that would have been like, reading 100 Years of Solitude, like, listening to, fucking Red Hot
Don't
Painters.
put that label on us. No.
Well, I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Like, so I think but again, it just took us a long time to get to that point where we like realize that stuff about each other. So having a band for me with her is just like an excuse to hang out like once a week and like talk about what we're doing. And it's kind of fun,
Justin, it is impossible to make adult
Oh,
friends.
totally.
Impossible.
It's people are really good. Some people are really good at it though. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
It is so hard. And oh my Lord, when my children were much younger, like the parents in the, whatever it was, Little League, whatever, like I just could not find any common ground whatsoever. And I just resigned myself to the fact that, okay, I can't make adult friends. So that said, we can be friends. Like if you want to like nerd out, talk to music.
Yeah, man.
I'm your guy.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Because I know it's hard. It's hard.
Oh, absolutely.
So, all right, knowing that this is a new-ish project, and Rebecca, Justin calls you Becky. I know you just from print as Rebecca. I don't know what's appropriate.
Yeah. Sorry. I'll use the formal.
That's fine. Yeah.
What does the future hold as far as live activity goes?
That's a good question. Well, Justin is obviously in Philly, and I'm here in Western Mass. Our drummer is in Burlington, Vermont. Our bassist obviously lives here with me, and our other guitar player is in the middle of the state. So we're pretty spread out. And Justin and I both, we have careers and stuff, so we want to make more live shows happen. It's a lot of finagling.
Yeah, it just takes a lot of logistics. I mean, I think there's two ways to approach it. I think, if you look at like what a lot of contemporary bands are doing, especially in situations like ours, it's like a performance or a travel date or whatever it is kind of has to become more than whatever that is. It has to be something, that can live beyond it. So, places like Audio Tree are like fantastic for that, right? The touring band comes to Chicago and, but that can live on the internet for like 500,000 people to see, like KEXP or, even what John Batiste is doing at XPN in Philly with like bringing bands into the studio so they can have these archive performances, stuff like that's like on our radar. But I think ultimately, trying to sort of just build a little bit of, trying to become a hometown band in basically two cities is challenging. Just logistics. It really is. I mean, I think we have a really fun time playing live. I think we really enjoy it. It's really fun to play the songs, at least for me, out playing one instrument, like I don't have to worry about what's going on. And I feel like we have it's been really fun. I think it's just a matter of just finding time for it, and that'll come, offers, we put a little feelers out there and we say yes to things and we'll see how it goes. I think we had a good time. I think people for our first show, I mean, I thought we did pretty good. But
it was a lot of our friends, but
yeah, it was nice. It's nice. Yeah.
And I don't mean to rush you. I mean, Steely Dan was a studio project for many years. So, I mean, you could.
There you go.
It could be the indie rock Steely Dan.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's also sort of thing. It's like, it really depends. I mean, obviously, there's nothing, every single time you play a show, every time you get in front of people, that's still a great way for a lot of people to get to know your band. And I love that experience. And I especially love the experience of going to shows and seeing bands I don't know and coming away being like, oh, they're really great, or trusting a touring artist to bring all along a series of bands that are, that they're already aware of that you get to come through and see. So I think there's a lot of that. And I think, there's a lot of people making music up in Western Mass that really kind of gel with what we're doing, which is really nice. I mean, it is kind of still a stronghold of indie rock, which is pretty fantastic. So, to me, I was like, hey, if we played a show a couple months every time in like Greenfield or Amherst or whatever like that, that sounds fantastic to me. I mean, I think sometimes it has to be about, it's also fun for us. You know what I mean? 15 hours in a car with worrying about your kids and doing whatever. Sometimes that's just like not so much of a good time, and like,
for sure.
So I think the more convenient we make it for us, the more regular we make it. I think that would be at least ideal for me anyway. I don't know.
And we all have a blast together, so it's like we just get to hang out with our friends too, which feels like a rare commodity sometimes.
For sure. Well, in the
practice is really great. Yeah, it's a really
short
fun
term.
time.
I mean, videos are a great way to reach us and for us to interact with your music. You're on Bandcamp, achings.bandcamp.com, and that is a great place to start if people want to hear all these shapes all these days, but they can also buy it on vinyl, which record nerd alerts, different variants and all kinds of.
So many
I mean,
beautiful colors.
Yeah, we really feel very lucky. I mean, Landland in general, I mean, we just feel so blessed to be working with Dan. Like, I've been making music since I was 13. I think this is like this is the project that I always hope to make. And I think Landland's always the type of label I always wanted to have music come out on. I mean, it's so artist centered. I mean, literally anything that we wanted to do for the packaging, he was like supportive of and was going to work with us to make it happen. And I think, there is something about being a record nerd and then getting a chance to make a really beautiful record. And
I'm sure that's awesome.
I guess it's something that we worked so hard on to have this kind of very finished version of that kind of really honors the work that Becky and I did. I mean, it took 3 years to really put this record together, all through the pandemic, like figuring out ways to be safe and to keep it going without, hitting the stop. So it definitely means a lot to us. I mean, it is like our little baby, and it's such a pretty baby. It's a dark, kind of creepy, but kind of wonderful,
Well, I think it sounds great. I mean, the dark, creepy baby you created is fantastic. All these shapes, all these days. I would urge people to go to Bandcamp, achings.bandcamp.com, support the band that way, and hear the music. And I hope if stars align and it happens that you somehow find your way in Chicago at some point before a packed room here in Chicago, I hope we can get hot dogs or something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man.
Because we're friends.
Chicago is like, oh no, it's the best thing. And I think that's definitely the plan. I mean, like Landland's based in Milwaukee. So I think there's, some sense, I think we want to kind of come out that direction and, play for the audiences out there and, kind of be part of the more local scene that's growing around the label.
I love it.
Yeah. And for anybody like, the YouTube has, and I guess Landland has its own YouTube channel now, which is nice. It has all the videos up there and all links and everything like that, which is cool. Yeah.
Well, awesome. Yeah. Rebecca and Justin, thank you for doing this. Great to meet you. The album sounds great. And we hope to hear and see much more of you.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thanks, James.
We have the tech to get food delivered in 15 minutes, but we all have horror stories about buying tickets. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage. Get amazing tickets in just a few taps. Fees are included, so what you see is what you pay. And the Game Time guarantee means authentic tickets at the best price every time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concerts, sports, comedy, and more with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.